I've done a lot of Google Apps Script projects. Calendar reservation systems, a bunch of them, different emailing systems, automation of finding duplicate data, all sorts of stuff. This system's a bit unique. Well, definitely unique. And it focuses on two things. One, if you want to notify multiple people that a form's been submitted in a super easy way that sends nice HTML emails, all automated through AppScript, perfect. That's what this does. If you want to learn about creating a UI, a user interface, right, with a nice sidebar like so over here, a menu, and data that's retained, right? The user can enter information and hit save. And when they come back to this 10 days later, all that data that they entered is saved. That is also what this does. So yeah, this is a notification system or form submission where you can send fancy looking HTML emails to a whole bunch of people if you want, right? 2, 4, 10, whatever you need. It does that. It also is great at having, or great to great because I can show how to build a user interface for your application. And that way other people can actually use it, right? All of my applications, or a lot of my applications, are code only. So if you don't know code, you're really not going to be able to mess with them much. What's so powerful about this is, well, you don't need to know code to be able to use this system. So let me first, well, we'll just walk through it, right? So over here is the sidebar. How I opened it is email system menu, form, and it pops open. I have under miss delete because that will delete all the saved data for the user. And it's under miss so I don't accidentally click on it. All right, but so this pops up. We have the email subject. So what this is, the email subject, message title, well, that's the subject of the email. So you're sending an email to multiple people, most likely. You can just do one, but you can do 3 too. And if I hit save, let's go ahead and reload, or I could have gone up here. We now have 3 boxes, right? It updates on the fly. All right, so you're sending an email to multiple people. This is the subject of that email. This is the message title, so it'll be at the top of the email. And this is the message body. And then it will automatically grab all of this, the header column and the info of the row that was just submitted. So let me actually right away show you what those emails look like. Boom. This is one of them. Let me zoom in a bit so it doesn't look so distant. Here's what the email looks like. It grabs the data and puts it at the bottom. You can enable a button that will take them to the spreadsheet. Has this upper area. New form for you is the title of your email. This was my subject. It has this random number. Don't worry, yours won't. This was my subject. That's my title. And then this was apparently my message. And then each one of these is a row, right? It is the column header is in bold. And then the information in that submitted column is also present. So that's what the actual email looks like. And you can see I sent it to a couple of my email addresses up here. So that's the actual email. This is where you enter the data. You can pick how many people you want. And you can choose fancy things like a button link. If I hit yes to this, I am provided with a column to select. And what I need to do is select the column that a user email is in. So for me, that would be, well, E. Okay. And I'm going to actually limit this to 2. And I'm going to put mine, and I autofilled all of them. Not what I wanted. And then, yes, my other account. I do want a button link because I'm fancy. And mission notification, just to show you that it's saving, I'm going to say my submission notification. My new submission. A new form has been submitted. Woot! All right, just to show you that it's retaining this. Let's go ahead and click save. And now, oh, watch this. Saves here. It's about to disappear. Watch it. Watch it. Boom. That's on a timer. I'll show you how I did that too. Let's go back to the form. All of this information is retained. And I say form not because it's a Google form. It's not. It's an HTML form. So, all right, let's get into the code. Let me magic my way over to code. Code. What we're going to do, I am not going to go through every line of this, okay? If this is your first run-in with app scripts, I have a lot of other videos. You should check some of the earlier ones. Some of the ones, not earlier, but some of the shorter ones that are a bit more simplistic, I would definitely watch my alert system video, maybe my sidebar video before you dive into this. So here we're grabbing spreadsheet app, get active spreadsheet. That's the spreadsheet we're just on. We're getting the sheet we were just on. Last row, last column, script properties. This is a bit unique. You might not have seen this. I found this super confusing. Properties in Google Apps Script. To use them, you need to, and what a property is, that's a variable. So everything, I'm going to magic my way, boom. Everything I save here is actually a property. I save it as a property in my system, right? In my code. This is saved as a property. The subject, the title, the message, this radio button selection is saved. All of it. All of this stuff is properties, okay? So to do that, I first use a global variable and I say, hey, let's do property service get script properties. There are also user properties. I usually don't use user properties. Use user properties because they're only limited to that user. So if someone else opens up the spreadsheet, the saved data isn't accessible to them. However, if I use script properties, all of the data that is saved with that spreadsheet is accessible to anyone who can get to the spreadsheet or to the document, whatever you're saving these properties for. All right, so then this is a global variable of script properties, and I get the script properties from property service. All right, on open, this is where my menu is created, right? And again, I have a video on menus if you're curious. Just really want to point out, form is what I click on in the menu. Show form sidebar is the function. It doesn't look like a function. You don't put parentheses because that's how it is. But what this does, when the user clicks on that top menu and clicks form, it runs the show form sidebar function. Well, what's show form sidebar? Boom, it's this one. All right, and what that does is right off the bat, I declare a new variable, HTML. What it's assigned to is I say, hey, Google, let me talk to your hey, Google. I hope my Google Home. I guess I didn't say, okay, Google. Oh, nope, things are talking to me. Sorry. HTML service. I don't know if you could hear that. HTML service, create HTML output from file. What I do there is I am telling Google, telling the service, hey, let's grab the HTML service and use my form, which is right here, right? So it grabs my form file. I could have named this sidebar. Whatever I need that name here, and it creates an output file of HTML. And output's important. We'll get to that later. We set title, set width. Width isn't necessary because it's always 300 pixels. And then we say spreadsheet, get UI, show sidebar. And notice that we have to get the UI up here and here. But that cannot be a global variable. Don't do that because if you do, your trigger doesn't run. And then we say show sidebar, and what do we use as the argument? Oh, this HTML variable we created, which is really just the output of all of this. All right, I'm going fast, I know, but I want to get through it all. So here we are, HTML. If you're not familiar, style elements, the sidebar. Ooh, my grammar. If you're not super familiar with HTML, I will post all of this code as well. Because all of my code is posted in the description, right? If you're not super familiar with it, I'd recommend you check out other tutorials, right? I have a bunch on code.org's HTML lessons, which are excellent. Regardless, here are my style elements. So this styles the whole page, right? All of my page has a background color of this now. And this is the form, remember that. This is that a class? No, it's an ID. Everything with the ID, and if you don't know what that is, give me a second. Data input now has this background color, padding, it has its corners rounded, blah, blah, blah. All right, so we're going to dive into the HTML though. Here we are. Body, center, I want to center it all. Input text, H2 is a heading tag, okay? And then I separate each of my elements into divs. These are like boxes in HTML. Well, I made them into boxes. And what data input is, right here, it's an ID. I probably should have used a class, but too late. What data input is the box that all of my message title, email subject, let me magic my way. So this is the data input divs. I gave them that ID so I could apply style elements, and this is all those data inputs. All right. Now let's get to the stuff that super matters. This is the form. This is not a Google form. It is an HTML form. We are using form elements, that's where a Google form gets its name, to get our information from the user. So the text area is my top box, and that's the email subject. I tell it to be 2 rows because I have that option. All right. I give it an ID. You need to be aware of this. What I'm saying right now, these IDs, right? IDs on these are important. What also is super important to you is email subject or message title or message body, the names. ID and names for HTML forms with app scripts is important. It's very important. And I'll get to why in how about right now? What this is going to be, the names eventually is how you refer to your form data or to the information your user submits on the sidebar. So let's say our user fills in their form, right? This text area, this input type text, which is almost like a text area, but smaller, right? It's a single line to type. A radio button, which is just those buttons you click one or the other. Once they enter all of this stuff and hit submit, hit save apparently, I run, right? On click of that button, on click, form submit is run. Okay. I want to actually show you real quick some other stuff. So how I do the live updating on click, right? If I hit no, goodbye. Hello. Goodbye. Hello. All right. How I'm doing that is an on click. And it's done for this. Oh, that doesn't need an on click. But it's done with an on click on that radio button. If I go up here, email user, on click, user on. So if I click it on, it shows me email address column, and I have to select it from the drop menu. If I click no, whoops, wrong way, it runs off user email. And that makes it, well, disappear. So that's how I'm doing it. It's an on-click method. Or now, it's an on-click function. Now, on-click for save. All right, jumped out of it. On-click for save. It runs form submit. What is form submit? Right here. So what form submit is going to do is it says, hey, Google, script run user input. Wait, what? Why am I asking Google script run something? Because this function is not within the code of the HTML. I'm in the HTML file right now. That's not where user input is, right? So our code for the HTML stuff starts up here. Well, it starts up here, script, and then it ends way down here with /script. But user input isn't located within that. User input isn't located within that, and so I need to do Google script.run, and I'm saying this is in another page, right? Look for this in my program, and it's actually over here in the code. Right? So I'm telling Google, hey, go look at my code and run this function in the code. But before you do, I grab this as an argument. What that is, document.forms, and then in the brackets 0 is all of the data from here. All the information that our users put in here, right? And click save is this. We grab it from the HTML, and the way we grab it is we say document.forms 0. And that's because it's in this object or array thing. Don't worry about the 0. It's what you need. Document.form0 grabs all of that data. Okay. And then we run user input. So now let's hop back over to the code. User input. Where is, there's user input. What I want to highlight here. Yep. Right off the bat, I delete all properties. I delete all the properties. And I do that every time to clean them out because that eliminates the possibility for some bugs and some errors. Deleting them all, though, won't matter because we're going to talk about how to update this on the fly, right? And so how to have it reload the information the user has. So if they hit submit, when they opened this, it had all of their old information. And so even if they only changed one thing, we can delete, well, I keep going the wrong way. We can delete everything because all of their info is still on that form. And so we're just going to resave it. But that way it eliminates some of the possibilities of bugs. So delete all properties. Script set property. This is how you save a variable in Google Apps Script. All of these are variables that are retained even if I close the program and close the spreadsheet and come back a month later. All of them are saved. All right. So set property, and I name it email subject. Form.email subject. This is the name we gave it in the HTML. Message title. This is also from the name in the HTML. So the names that we gave to our form elements are how we are accessing that information to save them as properties, right? So form is my parameter up here, which is why this now says form. And we are accessing each of our form elements using the name we gave them in the HTML. And then this one, I even have an if statement. If user email radio equals on, right? So this has a value in the HTML. Value here. Value on. And I'm checking because it can also equal off. And so I'm asking, hey, does the user email radio, and it has two equal sign because that's a comparison. One is sets it up as a variable. Does it equal on user email radio? Because if so, I also want to save this property, which is the email column, right? Because, I don't need to save it now. But if it does equal on, I definitely need to save what column the email address is in because I'm going to use that when I send the on submission email. All right. So there's that on button. Oh, and this is another one. I check if this radio if form.button radio equals on button. Well, then I set this property to the spreadsheet's URL, right? Because this is asking if you want the user selected to have a button that links back to the spreadsheet. Then I just use a log properties, kind of for my own benefit. Honestly, I'm going to comment that out right now because it's not necessary with the code all working, but I'll leave it there if you're messing around with it yourself. All right, so what does this do? I've saved them all. Cool. Now what? Well, saving them means you can reload them. I'm going to go back over, right? So that's how I close this out. And I go, zoop, open it back up, and everything is still here. That's what saving them is. That's why we want them set as properties. How do I put them out to the HTML is done through get all properties. When that loads, when that function is called, it's going to return, well, all of our properties and keys. What's calling that function? What's calling it is the actual opening of the form. Each time I open the form, the HTML checks to see if there are new values. So let me go over here. Right, here's my form, which is the sidebar, guys. The form is the sidebar form. Okay, so each time I open it, it runs, formatting. Each time I open it, it starts to run some of this. This is number drop menu. That's a letter drop menu, I think. Yep, they are down here. And we are going to then run immediately. I have those load first. Well, one sec. It runs Google script.run with success handler. So once the page successfully loads, once get property successfully runs. So Google script run is saying, hey, run this in run the code, but it's not in this HTML. So Google then looks for it in our code. And what we want to run is get all script properties. Get all script properties is the function that's over here. and it returns all of the script's properties as an object. So with success handler means if this function successfully runs, then run update form values. And the get all script properties, what it returns, that object of all of our script's properties, is the argument for update form values. Okay? So every time the HTML loads, every time that sidebar loads, Google script run with success handler, hey, run get all script properties, and it's going to look for that in the code over here, runs all script properties, returns an object of our properties, and uses that as the argument for update form values. Update form values is right here. Okay? And there's the parameter properties. What we do here is we use that, as I said earlier, the ID is important. We get each of the IDs we need, value, right? Get element by ID, email subject. Then we say equal to properties, email subject. So equal to the parameter properties and then dot email subject, which is going to be the name that the email subject has if it has been saved as a script property. Okay. If not, what this means is or. These two lines right here and here and here and here, they all mean or. So if there is no email subject, if that's not saved, make it submission notification. These are the defaults. Or if message title, if properties.message title doesn't exist, make it new submission, so on and so forth. What's a bit different here is the email box. Wait, nope, that's not different. So to start off, it always loads just one email box. We'll get into how that works in a second. By element properties, radio.checked. So that is something unique to the radio. The element of checked equals true. The reason I can do properties.userRadio is because what user radio equals is either on user radio or off user radio. And if I go up here, on user radio is the ID, on user email radio is the ID, off user email radio is the ID. So since the ID and the value is the same, right? Since the ID and value is the same, the reason this matters is because when we save it as a property, we grab the form name. It's over here somewhere. They're both named user email radio. And then what it's going to give to us is what it is valued. And so I made them both valued what their IDs are, on user email radio, off user email radio. And that is why I can say this. Document get element by ID property user email radio, because that will be the ID of the user email radio, either on or off, and it checks it. Okay. Some if statements there, properties button, yep. Form submit, yep. Okay. So let's talk about, well, real quick, before I forget, the form submit thing is saved, which I think is awesome. How I do that, I'm going to go back to it real quick. It's going to pop up and say saved, right? Letting the user know, hey, we saved it, and then it disappears automatically. It does it in 6 seconds. What that is, well, first, it is document get element by ID submit button, and that's just the area right above our button, inner HTML, and I make it equal to this stuff, which creates that saved little box. And then I say Google script run, right? So, hey, look around with success handler. Wait seconds. Wait seconds is over in the code. And what it is going to be here. Function wait seconds. Utilities.sleep for 6,000 milliseconds, right? So 6 seconds. That's wait 6 seconds and then hide saved. And that runs this, which makes that box now disappear. It goes from equaling this to nothing after 6 seconds. All right, that's a little tidbit. Now let's kind of dive more into the weeds of, where were we? of how I'm creating the email boxes. We got all properties. All right. Make email string. Yeah, email boxes. So, how this is done. The email string is needed for sending an email because Google Apps Script to mail, you have to make all of the emails into a string. So I'm iterating through the emails to make them a string. How do I iterate through the emails if I don't know how many different emails someone has put in, right? Because someone could have 10. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to have to get rid of them all. But they can actually, yes, I will. Here, if you want 14, fine. You can have 14. So how do I possibly go through all of that? How do I know what each of these IDs are? Well, I'm going to go over. What I do is this add email boxes. So up here, it's run, make email string, add email boxes, and I pass the form as information. The reason the form is passed, var amount parse. I have to parse this, parse int, because all properties are saved as a string. All properties are saved as a string. So I have to parse the int. Form num to email. Whatever the user entered, right? I entered 14. I'm parsing it and setting that equal to amount. And then creating this new string HTML, which will be our HTML boxes. Then I have this for loop where I set it to less than amount. So however many boxes the user said or however many email addresses the user says, I say less than that plus 1 because I'm starting at 1. All right. I'm starting at 1 because each here, 1, 2, 3, 4, these numbers are actually, so I know right away the ID for this email box is email 1, email 2, email 3, email 4, and the name for it is email 1, email 2, email 3, email 4, right? First I check, do we already have a saved email? So I say, okay, look at this current form, grab email plus 1, right? Form was my parameter, plus I, so whatever number we're at. And if there is a current email, that's going to be set equal to value. If not, set this equal to nothing. Then I say, all right, HTML string equal plus I. So that's what creates the number here, right next to each one of these. That's what's generating that. So number plus the HTML input type text, which is this thing, value plus if we found an email for it to equal, right? If there was email already saved, then that's where that will be. Plus ID equals email plus data, right? Our number. So if we're on 1, it will be 1. If we're on 4, it will be on 4. And then we do the same thing for plus name, email plus the number. So when the computer loops through this, it will equal email 3, email 4, email 5, and so will the ID. Okay? And that's how I loop through it and parse it when I need to grab emails from it. Oh no, I know, yeah. So that's how I know what this is. When I grab the email string, I reference the form, right? So this is the properties that the user entered and saved on the sidebar. Once they hit save, what this does is it says, okay, form, and instead of doing form dot email 1, I'm just using a bit of different notation and I'm using these brackets. And that way I can concatenate the string with I, which will iterate through the numbers to create an email string. And we want all the emails together because you need a string of emails separated by commas to send an email in AppScript. All right, there's the email stuff, wait stuff, delete all data is to get rid of them, right? If I want to reset everything, log properties is to log them. I mean, what else can I say about that? On form submission. All right, so what do we do when the user actually submits a form? How do I send out the emails? So variable properties equal get all properties. We've already seen that. I think. Yes, right? And this is what gets all the properties and keys, right? So it's get all properties, and that's set equal to properties. Now, this one's new. Var submission get submission string, and then our parameter is properties. So let's go find get submission string. Oh, look, there it is. Get submission string. Properties is going to be, properties is the argument here, the parameter here. Get sheet header row and last row submitted for the email output. Yep. So what it does is grab timestamp, name, start date, end date, email address, payment. And then it grabs this, and Aurora Monroe, and this date, and that date, and this email, and this, right? Whatever you have, it grabs. And it puts that all together into HTML, because this is going to be an HTML email. It then checks if there is a button enabled, right? And the button, I want to show you all this. So what I'm doing right now, what that code does is build this. It's grabbing the header and each line, right? And then it checks for an HTML button. And if I enable the button, it adds that. So then it returns submission back up here. Var all emails, so variable, create this all emails variable, check user email properties. So I put properties in, I go down here, and what this is doing is I want to know, hey, I'm going to clean out some of these log statements, I think, before I post all this. But what this does is if properties.userEmailRadio equals, so did they select to have the user also emailed, which is here? If so, I grab that email using their column, right? So, it's E. And so I grab the email of the user too, and they will also receive this same notification. That's what this function's doing, and it returns the string. Okay, this is their super confusing part, I think. Now I do email, which is this HTML. We've seen this before. HTML service, create template from file, email. So Google grabs this email, except it's not an output. It's not an output. It's not an output. It's now a template. It's different than the sidebar. We need it as a template. We need to create this as a template, HTML email, because we're going to have variables in it. Let me show you. Here's the email, pretty standard HTML stuff, right? Some styling elements, pretty basic. That little photo I have of a bullhorn. And then this. Here's a variable, message title. Here's another one, message body. And so I don't want an output file. I need a template file so I can change those. And this is how I change them. Right here. So I get this variable. I then say HTML email.message title, and I set it equal to properties.message title. And then I say HTML email.message body, and I set it equal to properties message body. Okay. And then I append the submission HTML. I evaluate and append the submission HTML. I then get all contents of the HTML, which is what's going to flip it from a template into an output, because it only works if it's an output. So now it's an output type instead of a template type. And now we pass it to our email send. So we pass the properties, which we'll need, the HTML email, which is that, and all the emails, because we might have added user email to it. And so we need to have this as well. Now let's go to my send email. Send email. What we have here is, our 3 parameters. And then we have mail send email, right? We're using their mail app. All emails, okay? We are sending it to, all the emails we wanted. Properties.email subject, the email subject that the user picked. I'm going to get rid of this after when I post this. This is math.random just for my testing, but it will have the exact subject that you put, and then HTML email that we created above. Okay? And that's pretty much the program. The one other thing I guess I'll save, you need to be aware of is edit. You want to have a current project trigger. And I did add trigger. And that it says it had an error. I just set this up. It hasn't. You want to have a current project trigger and on open from spreadsheet. Oops, I was going to go into mine. Oh, that's probably when I entered. The error must be from when I entered the email address wrong. Oh my gosh, what are we doing here? There we are. So you want to interesting. Theirs must be from when I entered the email address wrong. You want a project trigger like this. Okay. Form head from spreadsheet on submit. Actually, I'll just set one up. You want a project trigger. So edit current project triggers, add, not on open. I want to do on form submission from spreadsheet, on form submit, save. Okay, so now this will automatically run when a new form is submitted. I'm going to close this, magic my way back over here. All right. Let me save everything. Awesome. All right. And now let's test it. Let's submit a form. Oop. Oh, just kidding. First, let's fix all that. Here. I want 2, okay? And then my new hello world. Hello world. How are you today? I just want to show you that it actually saves all this, right? I want to leave email user on, and what that's going to do is email this person because I have it set to E. 2 is much better, and buttons yes, save. If I have all these extra things with people not actually or email addresses not there, it will bug out and not run correctly. It won't send the email. All right, there we are. I'm going to delete some of this old test data so you can say bye to all that. Oh, and my new stuff won't be formatted. Cool. Oh, well. All right, bye. And then let's test, I guess. I guess I can go ahead and get rid of that as well. Delete. All right, let's see. Submit another form. And I'll put in my email, Kurt. Oh, hi, I'm Kurt. I'm going to put a bunch of periods in this because it will still send it to me, but I can show you that the email for the user is working. I guess I'm going to put Bob. That's not my name. And then some random dates. And PayPal, sure. Submit. All right, I guess this is the moment of truth. Up, there I am. There's that really interesting email. And there's the code. This is looking promising. All right. Hello, submission notification. And again, this is all just for debugging. It won't be there for you. And notice it does send to all 3 of the emails. This, and then the email with all the periods. Yes, this is you. So it sends, though, all 3. And there we are. What? Did I misspell world? Ooh. Whoops. Oh, well, yep. It does it exact. And my subject line, hello submission notification, which is what's right here. Those numbers were for debugging. They won't be there for you. And then my title, and then hello world, how are you today? Information from the form. I can click view to go back to the spreadsheet. Oh, yeah. Let's go back to this code again. It's going to be posted, all of it, in the description to this video, as well as I'll link to the actual spreadsheet. If you want to use it, you can click File, make a copy, and toy with this code yourself. If you are still watching this video, or, well, you are because yes, hit subscribe. Please, hit like, please, like other stuff. I hope this was helpful. I love coding. I love app scripts. So hit subscribe, hit like, share this, whatever. Use the code how you need. And I really do. I hope it makes life easier for you in some way.